And now when you were talking about some of the advocacy getting involved in the land management piece and protecting the open space, does that also extend to things like watershed and not covering things with concrete and making sure, or is it just the land?
Yes, most of what gets set aside in the development process is the areas that are ruled out for development because of the planning ordinances and such. For example, buffers along stream corridors. In Davidson, it's 100 feet on each side of the stream, has to be left natural. So that's the sort of the core usually of the common area, protected area. But sometimes we can persuade the developer to protect some of the more beautiful woodlands, uplands and such. We've just been very successful with that in the case of the Bailey Springs development. And about 14 1/4 acres will come to the Conservancy under an easement that does include some very nice upland woods and such. So we're excited about that.
Now, what are some of the things you do when you get an easement? What are the requirements, or what are the guidelines?
Well, for the Land Conservancy, our responsibility is to actually monitor, to actually go out and walk the property at least once a year and make sure there are no violations happening there.
What do you look for?
Well, let me give you an example of a property that we've been very active in for a number of years called Brackett Bluff Nature Preserve. It's actually owned by Mecklenburg County. It's part of the Park and Recreation's Nature Preserve system. And there was a neighbor who was operating a dump right next to it and allowing a lot of runoff from that dump to go right into the nature preserve, everything from silt to chemicals of unknown origin and substance. And so we were able to work with the county to actually get that stopped. And another case was in that same property was some people riding horses into the very sensitive natural areas there where some very significant plant species were, and just was not the proper place for horseback riding.
So do you map out the property or the easement to know that these are all the very special, intricate pieces? Okay.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We do that through what's called a baseline inventory, where we just try to identify everything that is significant on the property at the time we get involved with it, and then we can go back through those yearly visits and see what's changing, and is it a change for the good, or is it something like an invasive species of plants, kudzu being the most well-known one, that's about to damage the quality of the natural area.
And how many properties do you manage? Do you know?
We're involved right now with about 4, and they range from a small 8-acre privately owned piece of land that we have an easement on, up to that 100-acre one that I'm speaking out in Abersham. So we're adding more all the time, and that's what we're about. We're working through the comprehensive plan that Davidson is developing right now, hoping to not only identify the best of the natural areas that remain in the community, but then begin to put together a strategy for how we can conserve them.
Did some of that, some of that slowed down because I know there was some land that, like the Mays property and stuff, that was going to be under development that nothing's really happened with over the last year or so since the economy slowed down. Are you starting to see some pressure for development picking back up again?
Very slightly. I can't say I've seen a significant amount of that, but it definitely is an opportunity, giving us an opportunity to identify and prioritize better what is most significant to be preserved. And of course, we are tree huggers, we are bird lovers, we are lovers of rural scenery and old barns and cows and all that, but it's not really just about that. It's about looking at this as our green infrastructure. This is the lungs that provide the oxygen that we breathe, you know, from the trees activities. This is the areas.
Makes it beautiful.
That's right.
So
And
it makes the
these
area
are areas that actually contribute to the quality of life in the community by cleansing the water that runs off of our pavements and rooftops and such before it gets into the streams and becomes carries pollutants with it. So it's really part of the working infrastructure. We call it the green infrastructure to contrast it from the highways and power lines and sewer lines and such. That's the gray infrastructure.
Well, to finish up, for someone who wants to get involved or for the public who would like to help out, what would you recommend, or how can the public help?
Please call us or go to our website and connect with us that way.
And let's give your website address.
It's www.davidsonlands.org.
davidsonlands.org.
With an S on the land. Lands.org.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you coming in to talk about it. It is very important. I mean, those of us who live here want to continue to live in a nice area, and part of what makes it so beautiful is having a lot of open space. I think so far, you know, the area's done a good job with keeping green space, keeping the parks, and bike trails, the greenways, the parks areas, and requiring that the green areas are maintained, and as the development continues, because it will continue with the growth in this area. So
well, thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.